Hi, this is Sean, and today I'm going to share with you another clip from a live lesson I taught about improvisation. At this stage, we were talking not about building musical phrases. I already uploaded those and I'll link those in the description. But at this point, we were talking about the most important part, and that is how to work and why improvising doesn't work for so many people who watch video after video or read book after book. And we'll explore what I call your job description and how to work in a way where you stand a fighting chance of getting fluent with improvisation. So I hope you enjoy the lesson. Please do hit subscribe and the notification bell. Give us a like and a positive comment if you have one. It's really helping us to grow and do more of this for you. So without further ado, join me on the live lesson and let's see what happened. The thing with improvising is, this is the part of our art form that is more of an art than a science, let's say. So there is scientific stuff, of course, with scales and rhythm and stuff. But I find that teaching people how chord progressions work and how to put tunes together, how to get the melody note at the top in the right hand melody and all that kind of thing, those things are quite scientific, teachable. Doesn't mean playing them requires no art. Of course, there's an art to playing them as well. But when you get to improv, you can't tell somebody every note that they're supposed to play anymore. You have to figure some of that stuff out, most of that stuff out, as a result of working in the right way and giving yourself a vocabulary, okay? So let's talk about some next steps as well and other things. Yeah, let's talk about how not to do it, right? I think people need to hear this, and some things about the approach. I do talk about this a lot, so I won't go into it in too much detail. The most important things about approach for me in learning to improvise are being non-linear. What do I mean by that? I don't mean in terms of making improvisation lines and that kind of linear. What I mean is that your average student who wants to play jazz, what they do is they say, okay, I'm going to play a tune now. Let's say it's Autumn Leaves, because a lot of people play that tune right at the beginning, right? So I'm going to say, and let's do it even in C. 2, 3, 4, 1, and then the time goes. Then they got to stare at the music. The time, the chord isn't with the... And then they say, well, I don't think I sound very good. How can I start improvising? Right? So, first of all, not thinking that you can add to something that's already not strong. Your foundations need to be strong. Have a bunch of tunes. So I don't actually talk about improvising until about level 2B in my method. So for me, a level 1 student is getting started and just learning the chords and the progressions. We get you playing with tracks, even doing that on Jazz Skills. And it's a lot of fun, but we don't burden you with a melody first. Yeah, that comes later. And then a level 2, more about voicings, right hand melodies. Level 2B is stronger, start to approach improv a bit. Level 3, more advanced. I always do this. Level 3, more advanced improvisation techniques, movements, more advanced voicings, all that kind of thing, right? Substitutions. Also, understanding the difference between learning chords, tunes, and improv in terms of the science versus the art. But you cannot BS your way through improv. You might be able to convince people that you got through a tune by reading a transcription or by over-rehearsing it so much that you're not really playing jazz. You're playing something that's either a read skill or a remember skill, what I call re-re skills. Is this ringing true for anybody? Has anybody had these experiences and then just got stuck with trying to free up? If so, just type a yes or an absolutely, please, so I know you're here. So one of the important things about the approach, yes, I'm seeing lots of yeses. Too often I'm seeing, yes, I hear you. And my work has really gone into that, how to get past that and why people get stuck there and what to do about it. One of the biggest things is when you're improvising is taking small sections. Yes, from Ali, thank you. It's taking small sections and phrases out of context. So not thinking about tunes so much, thinking more about things like, can I play over major 2/5s effectively in a couple of different keys? Rather than saying, right, I've got Autumn Leaves now, how do I improvise over it? And it's also in the key of G minor, by the way. Well, why don't you just take some phrase building stuff like we did in the first part of this webinar and get good at progressions, and they will pay you back. Then you start doodling over your tune very childishly and zoom into an area where you feel you can improve and really work that area. Yeah. So for example, let's say it was Autumn Leaves and in the key of C as well. So you would do things like, okay, doodling. By doodling, I mean the simplest stuff. Nothing complicated. But let's say I've chosen to work today on B half diminished to E7. Then I'll start running phrases on that using that A harmonic minor we were talking about. Maybe even a stock phrase that I've been working on to see if I can play it in there. So for example, let's make a phrase. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to doodle, and now I'm going to see, can I do something or that in that area? Do it slowly when you do it, right? I don't know if you noticed, but I came in later than I planned to and had to make it right. Are you supposed to do that at playing speed like this at this stage? Absolutely not. And this is something I don't feel enough people talk about. Slow down. Slow down to figuring out speed. Practice speed. It may be slower than this. You know, not using your practice just to entertain yourself, but actually to give yourself some skills. Yeah. Okay. Other things about your approach. Let's talk about how we have done a bit, but let's talk more about how not to practice when you're trying to get good at improvising. So don't think licks will save you. You know, some books have us believing just learn these 5 licks and you can play jazz. That's all Oscar Peterson was doing, and that's all Charlie Parker. Really? No, those guys had things that they played a lot of the time that they must have loved, but I guarantee you if you removed those things from them, they could still play extremely well. So the sum total of their playing was not licks. Now, there can be some phrases that we borrow from other musicians, fine, but we have to be able to create phrases on the fly. That's extremely important. We'll talk about our job description in a minute. So, and definitely don't just practice, you know, don't know tunes like a robot. We already talked about that. If you're having to stare at the music just to know where you are, I feel that's not quite the right approach. So either you're not practicing progressions that are in the tune. In other words, I have people that come and play those early simple tunes like Autumn Leaves or Fly Me to the Moon, but they don't know where the 2/5s to majors are or the 2/5s to minors are in the tune. Therefore, they're not seeing progressions as they play. They're seeing chord, 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 and therefore there's no language, right? So if you're playing like a robot, you're going to find it almost impossible to improvise over the top of things. And again, try not to build, you know, I'm saying how not to practice. So what I'm saying is people tend to try to build an arrangement or rehearse a solo, right? Thinking that if they keep doing that, at some point everything will be okay. It just isn't, everyone. It just isn't. You can't do all the stuff a jazz musician doesn't do and then suddenly just get freedom, you know? So when people say, for example, we have some things written out for people on jazz skills, you know, learning particular skills, but I couldn't possibly write out everything I play. And there isn't a requirement to have a PDF for everything. For some things, sure. But if all your life is spent staring at paper, rigid, it's like saying to me, I want to free up and I want to be able to play without looking at something and want to be able to just flow. And I want you to teach me to do that by staring at something not flowing and being completely rigid all the time. Going to struggle too much, yeah? Ignoring time is a big one. I had what I'm calling an experience call with 2 of my Jazz Skills members this week. I haven't done that before, actually. And there were 2 people who'd been posting about how well they'd been doing. I just said, Lord, let's have a chat and record it and inspire some of the other members and talk about, you know, the kind of things you've been doing. And one of them said to me, you know, when I started working through your developing fluency course, I realized that I never played in time. I played everything out of time. And you made me play in time because you made me play with tracks slowly and it made me get my stuff together. Yeah, that's a really crucial one because Time is everything in improvisation. And then just keep trying with no strategy is obviously a loser, yeah? We talked about being linear already. Working on tunes rather than skills, we already talked about that, hoping something will figure itself out. So these things I see people doing a lot and it breaks my heart. And so I'd love to help you not to be working like that all the time. Okay, what I see as my job description and that of students is this. First of all, as I said before, slowing down, but enough to be in time. Slowing down enough to be in time. So what is the right speed? It's not a tempo marking before anyone says, what is it, 60 BPM, 70 BPM? It's not that. Slowing down to the speed where you cannot possibly be wrong is what I'm talking about. Whether it's a tune, whether it's an improv line, whether it's comping, whatever it is, that's how you'll improve. Otherwise, you're just practicing being wrong. And I think this idea of practice makes perfect is not the full picture. You know, there's some truth in that. It's not the truth for me. So what I mean is, let's say they will never once let you hold a gun wrong in the army, right? You can't say Sergeant, Major, Brigadier, I don't know what the names are, sorry. You can't say, listen, get off my case. I'll hold this thing right if I am woken up in the desert at 4 o'clock in the morning the way you say. Well, of course you won't. You'll hold it right when you're startled. You can't say I'll hold the gun wrong as many times as I want, and suddenly one day when I need to hold it right, I will. There are safety procedures so that every single time you hold that gun, it is right, it is safe. So that's one thing, slowing down enough to be time. Know several tunes well enough not to lose time or forget chords, okay? And chords that are at a good level, so not just tunes that are at your level. So for example, not picking up There Will Never Be Another You in the key of E flat if you don't know the E flat major scale, if you don't know the chords in E flat, if you don't know that it's E flat major 7, F minor 7, G minor 7, A flat major 7, B flat 7, C minor 7, D minor 7 flat 5 and E flat major 7 as quickly as that. If you don't know that D minor 7 flat 5, G7 are going to lead you to the C minor in that key because that's chord number 6. Knowing things like that, because then you will have rules of how to approach that minor 2/5 as well. So simple tunes for your level. Don't worry if they're, tunes you want to play at this stage. To begin with, go into survival mode and just get some tunes that you can get through. What else? Build short phrases. We spoke a lot about that. Make connections. We spoke a lot about that as well. So that's what I see as your job description. Thanks for watching. If you'd like more like this, then consider joining me on Jazz Skills, where we have hundreds of lessons to get you fluent in the first place, get you improvising, playing tunes, voicings, movements, you name it, a vibrant community, and help from me as well. Bye for now.